In the distant future, humanity had stretched its reach far beyond Earth. Colonies dotted planets across dozens of star systems, and massive ships roamed the vastness of space like whales in an endless ocean. The United Federation of Earth governed these colonies with a firm but fair hand, ensuring peace and progress. Yet, not everyone welcomed humanity's expansion into the stars. On board the Federation's flagship Aegis, Captain Jae-hyun Kim stood on the bridge, staring out at the swirling nebula ahead. His ship was one of the most advanced vessels ever built, armed with plasma cannons, shield generators, and engines capable of traveling faster than light. But today, his mission wasn't about war. It was supposed to be about diplomacy. Jae-hyun glanced at the crew around him. They were all focused on their tasks, preparing for what many hoped would be a historic meeting between humans and the Xylari Coalition. The Xylari were an alliance of alien species who viewed humanity's rapid growth as a threat. For years, tensions had simmered between the two sides, but now there was hope that negotiations could bring lasting peace. "Captain," said Lieutenant Choi Sejin, stepping closer. She was young but skilled, her sharp eyes always scanning for danger. "We're approaching the designated coordinates." Jae-hyun nodded. "Good. Let's make sure everything is ready. This meeting could change the course of history." But deep inside, he couldn't shake off a feeling of unease. Something felt wrong, though he couldn't put his finger on it. Maybe it was a silence from the Xylari side. They hadn't responded to any communication attempts in hours. Or maybe it was just the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Meanwhile, light years away on a remote mining colony orbiting Proxima Centauri, Hannah Lee sat hunched over her workstation. Her fingers danced across the holographic keyboard as streams of data floated before her eyes. Hannah was an engineer, tasked with maintaining the equipment used to mine rare minerals from nearby asteroids. It wasn't glamorous work, but she found satisfaction in solving problems and uncovering patterns no one else noticed. Today, however, something unusual caught her attention. Strange energy readings were coming from deep within the asteroid belt. At first, she thought it might be interference from solar flares or malfunctioning sensors. But when she cross-referenced the data with older scans, she realized the signals weren't random. They formed a pattern, a repeating sequence unlike anything she'd seen before. Curious, Hannah dug deeper. She pulled up images of ancient ruins discovered on several human colonies. These ruins belonged to civilizations long gone, their languages forgotten, their stories lost to time. Yet, some researchers believe they held secrets about the universe's origins. As Hannah compared the energy readings to symbols carved into those ruins, her heart skipped a beat. The patterns matched perfectly. She rushed to share her findings with her supervisor, Manager Park Min-soo, a gruff man who cared more about quotas and curiosity. When she explained what she'd found, he dismissed her concerns. "It's probably nothing," he said, waving her away. "Focus on your job, Lee. We've got shipments to send." Frustrated but undeterred, Hannah decided to investigate further on her own. Little did she know, her discovery would soon become crucial, not just to her colony, but to the entire galaxy. Back aboard the Aegis, the mood grew tense as the ship arrived at the meeting point. A sleek Xylari cruiser loomed in the distance, its dark hull reflecting the glow of nearby stars. Unlike human ships, which prioritize efficiency and practicality, Xylari vessels looked almost organic, as if grown rather than constructed. "Hailing frequencies open," announced Communications Officer Yoon Ji-un. Her voice trembled slightly, betraying her nerves. No response came from the other side. Jae-hyun frowned. "Try again." Still nothing. The silence stretched on, heavy and oppressive. Then, without warning, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Incoming fire!" shouted Tactical Officer Ryu Jun-suk. Before anyone could react, a barrage of energy blasts erupted from the Xylari cruiser. Shields flared as they absorbed the impact, but the sheer force of the attack rocked the Aegis. Chaos erupted on the bridge as crew members scrambled to respond. "What's happening?" Jae-hyun demanded, gripping the railing to steady himself. "They've opened fire without provocation." Jun-suk replied, his hands flying over controls. "Orders?" Jae-hyun hesitated for only a moment. "Return fire. defensive maneuvers. The battle unfolded rapidly. Explosions lit up the void as ships exchanged volleys of deadly energy. Elsewhere in the system, similar attacks struck Federation outposts and colonies. Within minutes, reports flooded in. Earth itself was under siege. As the Aegis fought back, Jae-hyun watched helplessly as reinforcements arrived. Not for Federation, but for the Xylery. Wave after wave of enemy ships poured into the system, overwhelming the defenders. Humanity's once proud fleet crumbled under the relentless assault. Far away, Hannah witnessed the devastation unfold through news feeds streamed to her console. Videos showed cities burning, fleets exploding, and countless lives lost. Her stomach churned as she realized the scale of the catastrophe. And then it hit her. The energy readings she detected earlier weren't just strange anomalies. They were warnings. Desperate to understand, Hannah accessed restricted files containing research on the ancient ruins. She learned that the symbols she'd matched to the energy patterns were linked to legends of a great calamity, one caused by a weapon so powerful it had wiped out entire civilizations. According to myth, this weapon still existed somewhere in the galaxy, waiting to be awakened. Realizing the gravity of her discovery, Hannah knew she had to act, but she couldn't do it alone. She needed help, from someone brave enough to believe her wild theories and strong enough to face whatever dangers lay ahead. Hours later, as the galaxy reeled from the outbreak of war, Jae-hyun stared at the wreckage surrounding his ship. The Aegis had survived, barely, thanks to quick thinking and sheer luck. But victory was impossible against such overwhelming odds. Guilt gnawed at him. He had failed to prevent the conflict, failed to protect his people. Then a transmission came through. Static crackled, followed by a shaky voice. This is Engineer Hannah Lee from Proxima Mining Colony. Is anyone out there? I have information critical to stopping this war. For the first time since the fighting began, Jae-hyun felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps the tide could still turn. Perhaps humanity wasn't doomed after all. He turned to his crew. Patch her through. Let's hear what she has to say. And so, amidst the chaos and destruction, two ordinary individuals, an engineer on a lonely outpost and a captain leading battle forces, found themselves united by fate. Together, they would embark on a journey that could alter the destiny of the galaxy forever. The galaxy was on fire. News of Earth's devastation spread like wildfire, leaving humanity in shock and despair. Entire cities had been reduced to ash, and millions of lives were lost in the opening hours of the war. On board the Aegis, Captain Jae-hyun Kim faced a grim reality. The Federation fleet was shattered, its ships scattered or destroyed. With no reinforcement in sight, the odds of survival seemed impossible. General Min-soo Park, a hardened veteran known for his unyielding determination, took charge of what remained of humanity's forces. From the safety of a hidden command center near the edge of Federation space, he issued desperate orders to counterattack. His plan was simple yet brutal. Strike hard at the Xylery strongholds and force them to divert resources from their assault on Earth. Lieutenant Choi Soo-jin, one of the few pilots still alive after the initial attack, found herself leading a squadron of battered fighters into battle. Her hands gripped the controls tightly as she prepared to launch from the deck of a damaged cruiser. Each mission felt like a suicide run, but she didn't hesitate. Someone had to fight back. Someone had to give humanity a chance. The first wave of counterattacks targeted a Xylery supply depot orbiting a gas giant deep in enemy territory. Soo-jin's squadron approached cautiously, weaving through asteroid fields to avoid detection. When they finally reached the depot, they unleashed everything they had, missiles, plasma cannons, and disruptor beams tore through the station's defenses. For a brief moment, victory seemed possible, but then reinforcements arrived. Dozens of Xylery fighters swarmed the area, forcing Soo-jin and her team to retreat. As the survivors limped back to their carrier ship, Soo-jin stared out at the wreckage left behind. They had inflicted damage, yes, but at a terrible cost. Half her squadron was gone, their ships blown apart in the chaos of battle. She clenched her fists, anger boiling inside her. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. Humanity shouldn't have been fighting for survival. They should have been building bridges, not burning them. Far away from the front lines, Hannah Lee worked tirelessly to piece together the mystery of the energy signals she had discovered. After her transmission to the Aegis, she received a reply from Captain Jae-hyun himself. He agreed to meet her at a secret location, but until then, she needed to gather more evidence. Every second counted. Hannah enlisted the help of Kyung-woo Park, a scavenger who frequented the mining colony. Kyung-woo was a wiry man with sharp eyes and a quick wit. He made a living by salvaging parts from abandoned ships and selling them on the black market. Despite his rough exterior, he had a knack for finding things others overlooked, including ancient artifacts tied to the Arendorian civilization. "Why are you helping me?" Hannah asked him one evening as they pored over old maps of the sector. Kyung-woo shrugged. "You're paying me, aren't you? Besides, I've always been curious about those ruins. Maybe now we'll finally figure out what they mean." Together, they charted a course to the source of the energy readings. The journey would take them far beyond the safety of Federation space, into regions claimed by pirates and rogue factions. It was risky, but Hannah knew she didn't have a choice. If her theory about the weapon was correct, staying silent could doom the entire galaxy. Days turned into weeks as humanity continued to struggle against a Xylery onslaught. General Min-soo grew increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress. Every attempt to push back against the coalition ended in failure. Morale plummeted among the troops, and whispers of surrender began to circulate. But Min-soo refused to give up. He ordered another major offensive, this time targeting a key Xylery stronghold near the galactic core. Jae-hyun received the order with mixed feelings. He respected Min-soo's resolve, but he also knew the risks involved. The stronghold was heavily fortified, guarded by some of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Attacking it head-on would be suicide. Yet, if they succeeded, they might gain valuable intelligence or even turn the tide of the war. Before setting out, Jae-hyun reviewed intercepted messages captured during previous battles. One particular transmission caught his attention. It mentioned a weapon capable of destroying entire solar systems, a weapon hidden within the Xylery stronghold. Could this be the same device Hannah had warned him about? If so, retrieving it might be humanity's only hope. Determined to uncover the truth, Jae-hyun assembled a small crew for the mission. Among them was Lieutenant Jun-yoon, whose expertise in communications would prove invaluable. Also joining them was Tactical Officer Ryu Jun-suk, whose skill in combat tactics had saved the Aegis more than once. Meanwhile, Hannah and Kyung-woo reached the coordinates of the energy signal. What they found there defied belief. Buried beneath layers of cosmic debris was an ancient vessel unlike anything they'd ever seen. Its design was sleek and otherworldly, clearly not of human origin. As they boarded the derelict ship, they discovered holographic records detailing the rise and fall of the Arendorian civilization. According to the logs, the Arendorians had created a doomsday weapon called Eternal Flame. Intended as a tool to eliminate threats to their empire, the weapon eventually consumed its creators along with countless innocent species. The records included warnings about the Eternal Flame's activation sequence, which still lingered in the fabric of space-time. Hannah realized the implications immediately. If the Xylery had somehow uncovered this weapon, they could use it to wipe out humanity entirely. She transmitted her findings to Jae-hyun, urging him to act quickly. Back aboard the Aegis, Jae-hyun studied Hannah's report carefully. The pieces were starting to come together. The mysterious energy readings, the legends of destruction, and the intercepted messages all pointed to one conclusion. The Xylery were planning to unleash the Eternal Flame. But convincing General Min-soo to prioritize this threat over the ongoing war effort wouldn't be easy. When Jae-hyun presented his case, Min-soo listened intently but remained skeptical. "You're asking me to divert resources based on speculation," Min-soo said, his voice tinged with frustration. "We're barely holding our own as it is." "It's not speculation," Jae-hyun countered. "If we don't stop them, there won't be anything left to hold on to. This isn't just about winning the war. It's about preventing total annihilation." After a long pause, Min-soo relented. "Fine. Go ahead with your plan. But if this fails, the blood of every soldier under my command will be on your hands." With permission granted, Jae-hyun set course for the Xylery stronghold. As the Aegis entered enemy territory, he He couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. Still, he pressed forward, driven by the hope that they could prevent the galaxy from burning any further. Little did he know the hardest battles and the greatest sacrifices were yet to come. The derelict Arendorian vessel was a tomb of secrets, its halls silent and cold. Hannah Lee moved cautiously through the ship, her footsteps echoing faintly in the metallic corridors. Kyung-woo Park followed close behind, his eyes darting around, as if expecting some ancient trap to spring at any moment. The air inside felt heavy, as though the weight of centuries pressed down on them. Holographic records flickered to life as Hannah touched control panels etched with symbols she now recognized from ruins. Each new piece of information deepened her understanding of the Arendorians and their catastrophic downfall. She learned that the eternal flame wasn't just a weapon. It was alive, a sentient force tied to the fabric of space-time itself. Once activated, it couldn't be stopped unless specific deactivation codes were inputted. These codes were scattered across the galaxy, hidden within artifacts left behind by the Arendorians. "This is bad," Kyung-woo muttered, leaning over her shoulder as she studied the data. "If the Xyleri get their hands on this thing, we're all dead." Hannah nodded grimly. "We need to find those codes before they do. Otherwise, there won't be anything left to save." But time was running out. The longer they stayed aboard the ancient ship, the greater the risk of being discovered. Pirates and scavengers roamed these parts of space, drawn by rumors of treasure. And worse still, Hannah knew the Xyleri might already be searching for the same artifacts. Meanwhile, Captain Jae-hyun Kim and his crew approached the heavily guarded Xyleri stronghold near the galactic core. The journey had been tense, with constant threats from enemy patrols forcing them to take dangerous detours. Now, as the Aegis slipped into position, Jae-hyun reviewed their plan one last time. "We'll infiltrate using cloaking technology," he explained to his team. "Lieutenant Jiun will monitor communications and disable security systems remotely. Jun-suk, you'll cover our backs if things go south." "And what exactly are we looking for?" Jiun asked, her voice betraying both curiosity and concern. "A weapon capable of destroying entire star systems," Jae-hyun replied. "If we can locate it and stop it, we might have a chance at ending this war." The thought weighed heavily on everyone. Failure meant not just defeat, but extinction. Yet, despite the odds, no one hesitated. They trusted Hyun, and they believed in the mission. As the infiltration team boarded a stealth shuttle and headed toward the stronghold, the tension aboard the Aegis was palpable. Every second stretched endlessly, the crew holding their breath as they waited for news. Back on the bridge, Tactical Officer Ryu Jun-suk kept a close eye on sensor readings, ready to intervene if the shuttle was detected. Inside the Xyleri stronghold, chaos reigned. Alien soldiers marched through dimly lit corridors, their weapons glowing ominously. Massive machines hummed with energy, powering defenses and feeding the mysterious weapon buried deep within the facility. Jae-hyun's team moved silently, avoiding patrols and disabling cameras along the way. Their first objective was to access the central database. Jiun worked quickly, bypassing firewalls and decrypting files. As she sifted through the data, her expression grew darker. "They're planning something big," she whispered urgently. "There's mention of activating the eternal flame soon, within days." Jae-hyun clenched his fists. "Then we don't have much time." Guided by Jiun's intel, the team made their way deeper into the stronghold. Along the way, they encountered resistance, a squad of Xyleri guards patrolling the area. A brief firefight erupted, forcing the humans to retreat into an adjacent chamber. Bullets ricocheted off walls, and alarms blared throughout the complex. "Fall back," Jae-hyun ordered, firing his plasma rifle to cover his teammates. They regrouped in a maintenance tunnel, catching their breath while assessing the situation. Though outnumbered, they had managed to hold their ground. Still, the encounter reminded them how precarious their position was. One wrong move could mean capture or death. Back aboard the Arendorian vessel, Hannah and Kyung-woo faced danger of their own. While downloading the final fragment of data, they triggered an automated defense system. Panels slid open, revealing turrets that began firing indiscriminately. Sparks flew as energy bolts tore through the air. Run, Kyung-woo shouted, grabbing Hannah's arm and pulling her toward the exit. Dodging blasts, they sprinted through the ship, their hearts pounding. Behind them, explosions rocked the corridors, sealing off their path. When they finally reached the shuttle, Kyung-woo collapsed into the pilot's seat, sweat dripping from his brow. That was too close, he gasped, starting the engines. Hannah didn't respond. Instead, she stared at the data stored on her device, her mind racing. They had what they needed, the location of the first artifact containing part of the deactivation code. But retrieving it would require venturing even deeper into hostile territory. Hours later, Hannah transmitted her findings to Jae-hyun over a secure channel. She explained the significance of the artifacts and provided coordinates for the nearest one. Jae-hyun listened intently, his face growing more determined with each word. "We'll head there after completing our mission here," he told her. "Keep safe until then." But as the call ended, doubts lingered in his mind. Could they really pull this off? The stakes were unimaginable, and the challenges ahead seemed insurmountable. Yet, he pushed those thoughts aside. There was no room for hesitation, not when the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Deep within the Xylery stronghold, the infiltration team reached the heart of the facility. Before them loomed a massive chamber housing the eternal flame. It pulsed with an eerie light, tendrils of energy snaking outward like living vines. At its center stood Vornax, the leader of the Xylery coalition, flanked by elite guards. "So you've come," Vornax said, turning to face Jae-hyun and his team. His voice was calm but carried an undercurrent of menace. "Did you think you could stop us?" Jae-hyun stepped forward, his weapon raised. "It's not too late to end this. Turn off the weapon, and we can negotiate peace." Vornax laughed bitterly. "Peace? You humans spread like a plague, consuming everything in your path. Your kind cannot coexist with others. The eternal flame will cleanse the galaxy of your corruption." The standoff was tense, neither side willing to back down. Jae-hyun knew they couldn't defeat Vornax and his forces alone. Their only hope lay in stalling long enough for reinforcements, or finding another way to deactivate the weapon. In that moment, Ji-yoon noticed something crucial. Hidden beneath layers of alien code was a failsafe, a manual override that could temporarily shut down the eternal radiating desperation. She frantically worked to activate it, praying they weren't too late. As seconds ticked away, the galaxy trembled on the brink of annihilation. Lieutenant Jun-yoon's fingers flew across the holographic interface, sweat dripping down her face as she worked to unlock the failsafe hidden within the eternal flame systems. The chamber pulsed with ominous energy, its tendrils writhing like living creatures. Vornax, the Xylery leader, watched Jae-hyun and his team with cold disdain, his elite guards raising their weapons in preparation for an attack. "You think you can stop destiny?" Vornax sneered, his voice echoing through the cavernous room. "Your kind will burn, just as the Arendorians did before you." Jae-hyun tightened his grip on his plasma rifle, his mind racing. They were outnumbered and outgunned. If Ji-yoon couldn't disable the weapon in time, there would be no escape, no second chances. All of humanity's hopes rested on this one moment. "Almost there," Ji-yoon muttered under her breath, her eyes locked onto the flickering data streams. Lines of alien code scrolled past at lightning speed, but she didn't hesitate. Her training had prepared her for moments like this, where every keystroke could mean life or death. Behind her, Tactical Officer Ryu Jun-suk kept watch, firing short bursts from his weapon to hold back the advancing Xylery guards. Each shot echoed through the chamber, the sharp crackle of energy filling the air. But even he knew they couldn't keep this up forever. "We're running out of time," Jun-suk shouted, glancing over his shoulder. Jun ignored him, focusing on the task at hand. Finally, a message flashed on the screen. Failsafe activated. A low hum reverberated through the chamber as the eternal flame's pulsating energy dimmed slightly. For a brief moment, hope surged through the team. But Vornax wasn't done yet. With a wave of his hand, he signaled his guards to charge. Plasma bolts streaked through the air, forcing Jae-hyun and his team to dive for cover. The battle erupted once more, chaos consuming the chamber. Meanwhile, Hannah Lee and Kyungwoo Park raced toward the coordinates of the first artifact containing part of the deactivation code. Their shuttle shuddered as it entered a volatile asteroid field, debris pummeling the hull. Kyungwoo cursed under his breath, his hand steady on the controls despite the turbulence. "This is insane," he yelled over the roar of colliding rocks. "Are we sure this thing is worth it?" Hannah clutched the data device tightly, her knuckles white. "If we don't get it, none of us are going to survive. Not humans, not Xylari, not anyone." Kyungwoo didn't argue further. He knew she was right. The fate of the galaxy depended on them retrieving the artifacts, and fast. As they approached the designated location, a massive structure emerged from the shadows of the asteroids. It looked ancient, its surface covered in strange carvings that matched the symbols Hannah had seen in the ruins. This was it, the first piece of the puzzle. Landing the shuttle nearby, Hannah and Kyungwoo suited up and stepped onto the rocky terrain. The air was thin, requiring oxygen masks to breathe. As they approached the structure, they noticed intricate mechanisms guarding the entrance. It wasn't going to be easy to get inside. "Looks like we'll need to solve another riddle," Kyungwoo said, eyeing the panels glowing faintly with alien script. Hannah nodded, already scanning the area for clues. Using the knowledge she'd gained from the Arendorian vessel, she began deciphering the symbols. Time seemed to slow as she worked, her focus absolute. After several tense minutes, the mechanism clicked and the massive doors creaked open. Inside, they found a pedestal holding a crystalline object glowing softly with blue light. Hannah carefully picked it up, feeling a strange warmth emanate from within. She knew instantly that this was the artifact, a fragment of the key needed to deactivate the eternal flame. "We've got it," she whispered, relief washing over her. "Let's go." But as they turned to leave, alarms blared throughout the structure. From the shadows emerged bounty hunters, humans hired by rogue factions eager to claim the artifact for themselves. Armed and dangerous, they blocked the exit. "Hand it over," one of them growled, pointing a gun at Hannah, "and maybe we'll let you live." Kyungwoo stepped forward, his own weapon drawn. "Over my dead body." A fierce firefight broke out, the sound of gunfire echoing through the chamber. Hannah clutched the artifact tightly, dodging blasts as she followed Kyungwoo toward the exit. Despite being outnumbered, they fought fiercely, determination driving them forward. When they finally reached the shuttle, Kyungwoo took the controls while Hannah strapped herself in, still clutching the artifact. As they launched into space, explosions rocked the structure behind them, collapsing into the asteroid field. "That was too close," Kyungwoo said, exhaling sharply. "Next time, remind me to ask for hazard pay." Hannah managed a small smile, though her heart was still racing. "We're not done yet. There are more artifacts to find." Back at the Xylari stronghold, Jae-hyun and his team fought valiantly to hold their ground. Ji-yoon's activation of the failsafe had bought them precious time, but the Eternal Flame's power was immense, and Vornax refused to give up. "You cannot win." Vornax roared, stepping closer to the weapon's core. His hands moved swiftly over controls, attempting to override Ji-yoon's work. "This galaxy will burn." Jae-hyun realized they couldn't defeat Vornax in a direct confrontation. Thinking quickly, he ordered Jun-suk to create a diversion while he and Jun made a desperate dash to the core. Bullets whizzed past them as they sprinted, adrenaline fueling their movements. Reaching the control panel, Jun resumed her frantic efforts to lock down the system. With seconds left before Vornax regained control, she entered the final command. The eternal flame sputtered, its energy dimming significantly. "It's done!" she shouted, turning to Jae-hyun. "We've disabled it for now." But their victory came at a cost. As they retreated toward the exit, betrayal struck. One of their own team members, communications specialist Lee Min-ju, revealed herself as a double agent working for the Xylari. Pointing her weapon at Jae-hyun, she sneered. "You should have known better than to trust anyone," she spat. Before she could pull the trigger, Jun-suk tackled her from behind, knocking the weapon from her grasp. A brutal struggle ensued, ending only when Min-ju was subdued. Though shaken, the team regrouped and fled the stronghold, narrowly escaping as reinforcements arrived. As the Aegis awaited their return, Tension gripped the crew. When Jae-hyun's team finally boarded, battered but alive, cheers erupted throughout the ship. Yet, the celebration was short-lived. They all knew the war wasn't over. Not yet. Jae-hyun addressed his crew, his voice firm despite his exhaustion. We've delayed the inevitable, but the eternal flame is still a threat. We need those artifacts if we're going to stop it permanently. On board her shuttle, Hannah listened to his transmission, clutching the artifact tightly. She felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her, but also a spark of hope. Together, they might just stand a chance. The galaxy trembled, but humanity burned brighter than ever, with resolve, courage, and the unyielding belief that even in the darkest times, light could prevail. The galaxy stood on the edge of destruction. The eternal flame, though temporarily disabled, still loomed as a threat capable of wiping out entire civilizations. On board the Aegis, Captain Jae-hyun Kim and his crew worked tirelessly to piece together the final steps needed to deactivate the weapon permanently. Every moment counted. Every decision mattered. Hannah Lee and Kyung-woo Park had retrieved the first artifact, a glowing crystalline fragment that pulsed with ancient energy. But there were more pieces scattered across dangerous corners of the galaxy, each guarded by unknown perils. Hannah knew they couldn't do this alone. She transmitted her location to Jae-hyun, who ordered the Aegis to rendezvous with her shuttle. When the two groups finally met, the mood was tense but hopeful. Hannah handed over the artifact to Jae-hyun, explaining its significance. "This is just one piece," she said. "We need to find the others quickly. Without all of them, we can't stop the eternal flame." Jae-hyun nodded grimly. "Then we don't waste any time. Set course for the next coordinates." The journey to the second artifact led them deep into uncharted space, where stars burned cold and planets floated lifelessly in eternal night. The coordinates brought them to a desolate moon orbiting a dying star. Its surface was cracked and barren, littered with remnants of an ancient civilization long forgotten. As the team landed, they discovered a labyrinth carved into the moon's crust. The walls were covered in symbols identical to those found on the Arendorian vessel. Hannah recognized them immediately. They were instructions, warnings etched into stone millennia ago. "This way," she said, leading the group deeper into the maze. Her voice echoed through the narrow passages, the only sound breaking the oppressive silence. Kyung-woo stayed close behind her, his weapon at the ready. "You sure about this? Feels like we're walking straight into a trap." "I don't have a choice," Hannah replied without looking back. "If we fail, everyone dies." After hours of navigating the labyrinth, they reached a chamber bathed in faint green light. At its center stood another pedestal, holding a second artifact. This one glowed with a golden hue, its warmth radiating even from a distance. Hannah approached cautiously, her heart pounding. But as she reached for it, the ground trembled violently. From the shadows emerged mechanical guardians, automated drones left behind by the Arendorians to protect their secrets. Their eyes glowed red, weapons charging as they advanced. "Run!" Jae-hyun shouted, firing his plasma rifle to hold them off. The team scrambled toward the exit, dodging blasts from the drones. Ji-Yoon used her technical expertise to hack into the system, controlling the Guardians, buying them precious seconds. When she finally succeeded, the drones froze mid-motion, collapsing to the ground. Hannah grabbed the artifact and turned to leave, but not before noticing something inscribed on the pedestal. "Sacrifice will be required." Back aboard the Aegis, tensions ran high. With 2 artifacts secured, they were halfway to deactivating the eternal flame. But the cost of their mission weighed heavily on everyone. Supplies were dwindling, injuries mounting, and morale faltering under the strain of constant danger. General Min-soo Park contacted Jae-hyun via encrypted transmission. "How much longer can you keep this up?" he asked bluntly. "Every day we delay means more lives lost." "We're doing everything we can," Jae-hyun replied, frustration creeping into his tone. "Give us time. We're close." Min-soo hesitated, then sighed. "Time is something we don't have. Earth's defenses are crumbling. If you can't deliver results soon, He didn't finish the sentence, but Jae-hyun understood. Failure wasn't an option, not anymore. The search of the third artifact took them to a gas giant surrounded by floating debris fields. Hidden within the wreckage was a derelict ship, its design eerily similar to the Arendorian vessel Hannah had explored earlier. As they boarded, they found themselves face to face with hostile scavengers who had claimed the area as their territory. Kyung-woo stepped forward, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "We're not here to fight. We just need what's inside." The scavenger leader, a grizzled man named Cho Song-tae, laughed bitterly. "And why should I believe you? You think I haven't seen your kind before? Always taking, never sharing." Hannah stepped forward, holding out her data device. "Look at this. Do you recognize these symbols?" Cho studied the screen, his expression darkening. After a long pause, he nodded. "Yeah, I've seen marks like that before. They're cursed. Everyone who goes near them ends up dead." "We know the risks," Jae-hyun interjected. "But if we don't do this, the whole galaxy will pay the price." Cho considered their words, then gestured for his men to lower their weapons. "Fine. Take what you need, but don't say I didn't warn you." Inside the ship, they found the third artifact nestled among ruins that told stories of despair and loss. Hannah carefully retrieved it, feeling its energy resonate with the others. They now had 3 pieces, but one remained. The final artifact was said to be hidden on a remote planet shrouded in storms so violent that landing was nearly impossible. Undeterred, the Aegis pushed forward, battling fierce winds and lightning strikes as they descended. Once on the surface, they faced their greatest challenge yet. A massive guardian creature, seemingly part machine, part organism, designed to protect the last piece of the puzzle. The battle was brutal. The creature's attacks were relentless, shaking the ground with every step and unleashing waves of destructive energy. Jae-hyun and his team fought valiantly, but it became clear that brute force wouldn't be enough. Kyung-woo realized the answer lay in the artifacts themselves. "Use the ones we collected," he shouted. "They must work together somehow." Hannah combined the 3 artifacts, their energies merging into a single beam of light. She aimed it at the creature, which roared in pain as the light penetrated its core. Slowly, it began to disintegrate, leaving behind the 4th and final artifact. With all 4 fragments in hand, Hannah assembled them into a unified key. Back aboard the Aegis, she inserted it into a console connected to the Eternal Flame systems. A holographic interface appeared, displaying a countdown. "You did it," Jae-hyun said, relief washing over him. "No," Hannah corrected softly. "We did." She entered the final sequence, and the Eternal Flame's power faded completely. Across the galaxy, the trembling ceased. Silence fell, broken only by the hum of distant stars. Though scarred by war, humanity and Xyri agreed to negotiate peace. Hannah became a symbol of unity, sharing the lessons of the past to build a better future. Jae-hyun retired from command, dedicating himself to fostering cooperation between species. In the end, the galaxy no longer trembled with fear. It trembled with hope. And amidst the ashes of conflict, new beginnings rose like phoenixes reborn.